Okay. Okay. I'd like to call to order the Madison Fire District special meeting. It's going to be via video conference, April 28th, 2020, 6:30 p.m. I believe it's 6:31 at the moment. I call this to order. Roll call.
Mr. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Gontner.
Here.
Mr. Lee.
Here.
Mr. Vest. Mr. Wayman.
Here.
Okay. Guess now we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I didn't know if he was playing it this time or we're doing it. Nope. That's all right. We'll do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Go ahead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The purpose for this meeting is the Workers' Compensation Special Counsel.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll just address the board members.
Thank you, Mrs. Dane.
Okay. So as you're all aware, we have a pending workers' compensation claim that's also tied to a VSSR claim. They are two separate components. I'm not going to specifically reference the individual's name, but we all know who it pertains to, what claims in VSSR, because that was a special thing. We talked about in a meeting back at the end of last year about retaining special counsel to defend not only the workers' compensation piece, but also to enter into settlement negotiations to maybe resolve the ongoing VSSR piece. And that was a result of Mike Germano, who we had first hired, leaving and going to the Ohio Attorney General's office. So he had to terminate representation. After that, we had Matt Lallo representing the fire district in the rest of the VSSR appeal. When that ended, he suggested that we obtain the services of someone who focuses more on the employer side and defending that side of it. So he made recommendations. I've been going back and forth with these individuals over the last few months, and nothing has really been happening, except at the end of March, they did an independent medical examination, which is not unusual. Those things come up from time to time and are requested. My understanding is when that was completed, then they determined that the injured worker had reached his maximum medical improvement, and they made the recommendation that a hearing be scheduled for the termination of that individual's temporary total compensation. So that's actually scheduled for a hearing. We got the hearing notice on April 16th or 17th. I immediately reached out to Christopher Ermish of Taft Stinius. He was one of the individuals recommended by Matt Lallo to represent our interests. He said that he would be available. And I think that it's prudent that we get involved in this juncture, even though it's two separate pieces, just because he'll be able to provide us guidance. And I don't want to take the chance that something that would happen in this piece of it would affect our ability to resolve something on the VSSR later on. So he did provide, and I put a copy in the board folder and circulated it by email, terms of a representation letter. It does have the rate spelled out in that letter, which I can just go over briefly. It's $280 per hour for associates, $350 to $370 for partners, and $200 to $210 per hour for associates or paralegals, helping associates, sorry. My understanding is that Christopher Ermish is an associate with the firm, so he would be billing at $280. He would probably have, a paralegal helping him just on the mundane stuff, maybe looking up the claimant's record and providing him with the summary up to date in preparation for the hearing. He doesn't have a max. I know that the board in the past, when hiring special counsel, likes to set that max cap so that we don't exceed it. He doesn't have that written into this agreement. And my protection, I guess, that I would urge the board to feel comfortable in entering into this is standard. These hourly rates are reasonable given the services and the work being performed. And at any time we can terminate it. So if we're not happy with his services or they start to exceed our budget or what we want to be spending, then we just terminate the representation. But we'll be able to monitor that as the statements come in. I don't think for this particular piece on Thursday that it's going to involve too much time, just him familiarizing himself with where things are and participating in the telephone hearing, which, I don't think will last very long. And then we'll get a better idea. But really the sole purpose of getting him involved is to help us in the bigger picture. And hopefully it works out and he's someone that we can even, if we ever need it in the future, can consult with. So my recommendation to the board is that, you give me authority to go ahead and retain his services as special legal counsel, that you give me the authority to enter into the representation agreement with him on behalf of the Madison Fire District, and that I can sign that authorization form so that he can talk to the Bureau of Workers' Compensation and get information regarding this particular case. With that being said, are there any questions for me that anyone would like me to answer?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question.
Go ahead, Mr. Gratner.
Stacy, the hearing that's on Thursday morning, is that because I'm trying to remember. I remember your email from last Friday. This individual is refiled for additional compensation now. Is that what that kind of?
No, he's currently on temporary total disability, and at his last independent medical examination, they determined that he reached his maximum level of improvement. There were some things noted in the record that he has to do in order to be eligible for some surgery that might help him out. But at this time, since he's reached that maximum level of improvement, they want to have a hearing on Thursday to determine whether or not they should terminate that temporary total disability. There is a temporary and a permanent disability, and all the ins and outs of that will be better explained by Christopher Ermish, because again, I don't practice that sort of law. I'm not familiar with the distinction between the two, but that's the position that we're at. So I'm sure he has more an interest in fighting that, perhaps, because it's a termination of his current benefits, and I'm guessing he'd have to apply then for permanent or total disability. But nonetheless, I'd rather have somebody, advocating for us, or at least telling us what effect that would have on the BSSR going forward.
Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate it.
Anybody else?
Everybody's good with no max on this or anything?
No, sir.
Very good.
I'll make the motion.
Stacy, we just need the motion for this then, right?
Yeah, well, it's a resolution. And Nyla, do you have a number that I can assign to this?
The next resolution number is 20-10.
So, Mr. Chairman, it would be resolution number 20-10, a resolution authorizing the hiring of Christopher B. Ermish and the law firm of Taft, Stineus, and Hollister as special legal counsel, establishing hours and rates of pay.
Mr. Chairman, I will make that motion on 2010.
And a second,
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gardner. Roll call.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Gantner,
Yes.
Mr. Lee,
He's muted.
Mr. Lee, Mr. Wayman,
Yes.
Mr. Lee, I believe it's *6 to unmute yourself, if you can hear me. Todd, do you know if anyone else has the ability to unmute him?
I don't believe that once he's muted, we have the ability. No, Mr. Lee, if you can hear us, *6 should unmute you.
Okay, well, do we have that? We have the votes, correct?
Yes, we have the call.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else? Any other business
Nope.
pertaining to this?
No,
No,
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Uh, Go ahead, Pete.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Wayman, a
I'll
second?
second, I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Anderson, second? Roll call?
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Gontner,
yes.
Mr. Lee,
Just for the record, he has left the meeting.
thank you. Mr. Wayman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this concludes the special meeting at 6:42 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Stacy.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you,
See
Steve.
you guys. See you at the next meeting.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Bye.